Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Practical MSIX webinar series. My name is Cristina Constantinescu, and I lead marketing initiatives here at Advance Installer. I am very pleased to be with you today. I'm going to be your moderator for the MSI versus MSIX webinar. Today, my colleague Bogdan Mitrake will go through some of the most interesting differences between MSI and MSIX. But before we get started, I would like to take a moment to review a few technical details. First, the questions. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time to Bogdan by typing your questions into the Q&A pane of your control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We have some of our technical support team members joining us today, and they will try to address your inquiries during the presentation, so we will go through all of them again at the end of it. I would like to remind you also, this is a live webinar and we are going to record it. So we will upload it on YouTube channel and send you the link within the next 24 hours. I'm gonna come back to you with the link. That being said, I would like to introduce our presenter, Bogdan Mitrake. Product manager at Advanced Installer, Bogdan is one of the most active promoters of the MSIX technology within the packaging industry. He is definitely the MSIX expert within our Advanced Installer team. So, Bogdan, you have the stage. I'll let you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to have you all here today. I'm also very excited that MSIX is such an interesting topic for you guys. As you probably know, in the packaging industry, MSIX is one of the most expected delivery deployment format technologies. Microsoft pitches it as the future of application packaging and as a future replacement for the MSI. Advanced Installer is the tool that supported MSIX technology right from the beginning. Actually, we were the launching partner for Microsoft when they launched MSIX in the spring of 2018, and we've continued to invest heavily ever since. Over this period of time, there have been quite a lot of presentations that approach the theoretical side of MSIX technology. But we noticed that very little information was being delivered around the practical side and its real-life use cases. So our team is trying to change this on our Advanced Installer blog. There are actual engineers from our team that are writing about how you can leverage the MSIX deployment stack in your everyday tasks. I highly recommend you check it out and subscribe. Now, let's get started. Today, I will try to give you a quick introduction into MSIX by comparing some of its core components with the MSI that you all know. We will see how MSIX works, while also covering benefits and limitations of the current deployment technologies. But before that, let's share with me one thing. Have you tried to build an MSIX package until now? Please answer these poll questions while I go over our agenda for today. So we'll focus on the following main topics. We'll start with the MSIX container and we'll talk about how an app behaves when it's packaged as an MSIX inside an MSIX package. Then we'll talk about the package manifest, which is a core component from every MSIX package. After that, we'll take a look at how digital signing starts playing a role into your packaging activities. And we'll finish up with the deployment model of MSIX packages and what are the changes compared to your MSI deployment method so far. Let's get started with the MSIX container. If you've only packaged applications as an MSI so far, this is something new to you. Let me clarify this. Maybe if you've done a little bit of app repackaging in the past, some of its concepts can go over. But MSIX is not just a packaging format. It is a deployment technology. It's a combination of a new package format and a lightweight app container. All the apps that are packaged using MSIX run inside this lightweight app container. The process is launched by an MSIX packaged app are isolated using file and registry virtualization. Your MSIX app will still be able to read the global registry that you have on your local machine, but they will also be able to read their private registry hive, available only to your application. This enables an MSIX app to write to its own virtual registry and application data folder. And this data can be easily cleaned up by the system when you uninstall or reset an application, ensuring your machine is left in the same state as it was before the app is installed. Actually, this is one of the main benefits Microsoft promises with MSIX, a clean machine no matter how many applications you install and uninstall. And this is a critical point of view for the customers and for enterprise end users, where constantly applications get updated or replaced, and machines start working slower and slower because of the all-known Windows rot of the registry. One other thing that you should know about the MSIX package apps is that other apps from the system do not have access to the virtual registry or file system of your app. It doesn't matter if those apps are packaged within an MSIX package or with a simple MSI package. Microsoft has announced recently at Ignite they are working on a shared container. We are probably guessing it's something close to the AppV connections group we've had, but we don't have any details so far, so probably in the spring of 2021, Microsoft will give us more details on that. The MSIX container also comes with the major benefits for apps that are still under development. So if you're a developer working on a Win32 application, and now you can access UWP APIs without rewriting your entire application. Now, let's talk a little bit about the internals of an MSIX package. And we'll focus on its main component, the Apex manifest XML, or also known as the package manifest. If you didn't know already, an MSIX package is practically a custom zip archive, where the resources layout follows a set of rules strictly defined by Microsoft. Let me show you how one such package would look like. So here I have the advanced, one moment, switch back. I have the MSIX package for Advanced Installer Express Edition. This is a debug version. Basically, a final version of this package ends up in the Microsoft Store where we publish Advanced Installer Express Edition. So you can just right-click on the package and unzip it, and you'll have a folder like this one here. And here in the folder, you'll find the main resources of our package. Our manifest, as I said, the registry hive, this is the private virtual registry hive of Advanced Installer, and some additional configurations file required for the package, and the folders with the resources of our application. The most important folder is the VFS folder, or the virtual file system. This is where you practically find all the files that are installed by your application when you install it with an MSI, for example. We'll go back to that a little bit later. So let's focus on the Apex manifest XML. As I said, from all the resources of your package, this is the most important one. This is the central piece of information where you specify all the resources that your app has and how it interacts with the operating system. In the manifest, you will find the list of applications that you're installing. So basically, these are the entry points that you see in the start menu when you install an MSIX package. Please note that link files, or the well-known shortcuts that you installed when you had an MSI, are no longer available with MSIX packages. These have been replaced by the application entry point, which you define in the manifest. Next to your list of applications, you also find all the package declarations and capabilities. Using this mechanism, you can declare file type association or register a font or COM entry. In the past, when you were using an MSI to deploy all these resources, you could either define them in their respective MSI tables, or some people prefer to just put them in the registry, and the operating system was loading the corresponding registry for a file type association or for a COM registration. But this doesn't apply anymore with MSIX. If a capability is not declared in the manifest, the system will practically ignore everything that you have in the virtual registry of your app. So those registries are actually accessible only to your application, the system doesn't look at them. Along with the above mentioned resources, in the manifest you can have additional resources declared, like a potential service if your application is installing a service, or maybe dependencies to other MSIX packages, for example, distributables. Let's have a closer look at how would a manifest look like. And here I have the manifest for the Express edition of Advance Installer, that debug version that I mentioned. So it's a basic XML file that follows the schemas from Microsoft. It contains information about the package architecture, the publisher, and its most important area is the applications group. So here you find your application entry points, names, and extensions for that application. So in this case, our package is installing a font and a file type association that is associated with our executable from the package. So what you see here follows the exact schemas from Microsoft. And usually when using free tools from Microsoft, you need to manually write this. Is it either within Visual Studio or other tools they provide? Advanced Installer gives you a dedicated UI that allows you to generate all that manifest in the background without having to keep track of all the changes that you do there and understand every tag from the XML file. So we handle all of that automatically within our UI as you've been used so far. And now that we've seen how a package looks inside, let's take a look at how Microsoft guarantees the integrity of the package, one of the main features of the MSIX deployment technology. This is where digital signing comes into play. According to Microsoft, the MSIX platform promises a secure deployment technology that can save your companies or the ones of your customer from potentially expensive ransomware attacks. Digital signing plays a critical role in this promise. When you are deploying MSIs, or if you were building MSIs internally in your company, digital signing was not mandatory. Most of the big ISVs would digitally sign their packages, but many open source tools or 99% of IT departments that packaged in-house app would never digitally sign a package. I don't remember any big IT customer we have saying that they were signing application to deploy internally in their company. So they were practically creating a perfect opportunity for attackers to slip in and put in malicious code. This happened recently with a big shipping company in UK where practically their entire database was encrypted, and it wasn't a pleasant exercise for their security team. With MSIX, digital signing is mandatory. So let's repeat that. Digital signing is mandatory for any MSIX package you deploy on a machine. No matter how you deploy your app, it needs to be signed. And you have three main options to sign a package. You can generate a self-sign certificate and sign the package with it. And you can use this type of certificate for packages that are simply under testing for your development machine or for deploying a package inside of an organization. Remember, these certificates need to be trusted by the machine where the packages get deployed. So you need to make sure that you first deploy the certificate on all the machines from your infrastructure before deploying the package. Advanced Installer has a one-click option to generate a self-sign certificate. So all you need to do is to go to digital signature page, say create certificate, and then you'll have a certificate that you can use to sign your MSIX packages and test them locally or even with your colleagues in the company. You can extract the certificate from the package and install it on a machine where it isn't already there to make sure that machine trusts the package. Otherwise, the installation of the MSIX package will fail. If you are an ISV that delivers the MSIX from your website and instead of publishing in the Microsoft Store, then you need to buy a code signing certificate from a certified vendor. This is the same kind of code signing certificate you've used for MSIs. So if you already have one, you're good to go. You don't need to change anything. The only way when you can skip signing a package is if you upload that package in the Microsoft Store. So this doesn't mean that the package doesn't get signed, but you don't need to sign it, man. This is because Microsoft will sign the package before publishing it to the end users. So the systems, this way the system store app that is present on every machine can safely download and install the package because it is signed with the Microsoft certificate. So now that we have a package signed and ready to install, let's see how the installation goes. With MSI packages, you have multiple options to configure an installation, starting from customizing your MSI dialog to changing the install location, install type to be either per user or per machine. With MSIX, this is changing. First, you can no longer customize your installation dialogs. These dialogs that you see when installing an MSI package are the same for all Windows 10 users. This is the standard user interface provided by the system app installer. Microsoft recommends that you implement any configurations during the first launch experience in your application instead of trying to do them in an MSI in a dialog, installation dialog, as you used to do with MSI packages in the past. So if your application requires a username and password or a port number, something like that, you need to configure that the first time when the user launches the application. Doing so, Microsoft removed any support for executing custom code during the installation. This is actually a very good solution to prevent additional attacks that could happen, because seldom we download MSI packages that can execute any malicious code, especially because most of them install per machine and actually don't need to install per machine, but they require elevation. So we allow them to run as admin, and we don't know what code is running in the background. But with MSI-X, all those custom actions are now forbidden to run. So you basically have no option to declare a custom action in the package. So you can no longer run custom code. Another important aspect is that all MSI-X packages are now deployed per user. So unless an MSI-X package installs a service, it will no longer ask for elevation upon installation. As I said, in the case of MSI, this was in 90% of the cases useless because the application didn't require any special permissions to run. So it could have been easily installed per user. It was more of an abuse of the untrained packaging skills. If you are an IT pro, you can still provision an app for all the users from the machine using the add app provision package commandlet. However, keep in mind that in SCCM, only user-based collection work for distributing the MSI-X packages. The support for services in MSI-X is pretty new, and we haven't tested it yet in its deployment in SCCM. So we'll have an update on this scenario soon, and we'll let you know how this works. Once a package is installed, you can find all these resources under the Program Files Windows Apps folder. Let's have a quick look on that a little bit. So as you can see, the apps are practically copied into a per machine location. But that doesn't mean that the apps are automatically available to all users. Unless you provision the app using the command that previously indicated, only the current user will be able to access it. This folder is read-only. So if your application used to write some configuration data in a file next to it, it might get an access denied error or simply crash when you try to launch it. If your app is old and no longer active under active development, you can leverage the package support framework integration that Advance Installer provides. And with it, you can apply automatic fix-ups that will allow your application to redirect such API calls and continue running as it did before. So you don't need to write any code to fix application compatibility issues when you migrate your application. But if your app is still under active development, we recommend that you update your practices and save those configuration files under AppData instead of letting your end users fix up the application with package support framework, because this will simply generate more frustration on the end user and also more ticket supports on your team. So let's have a quick look to see how the apps are installed on my machine. I have here a terminal window open. By the way, if you didn't know, this is the Windows terminal installed with an MSI-X package. You should go check it out. It's pretty useful. And here in the program files Windows app folders, I have a list with all the applications that are installed on my machine. These are all MSI-X packages. As you can see, this is quite a long list. Most of them are Microsoft application built in the operating system. And this is because in this location you find all the MSIX packages for fully native store application or for Win42 application that have been converted to the modern MSIX packaging format. Okay, here for example, you can see the installation folder for the Advanced Installer Express Edition. As you can see, all the folders follow a naming convention that starts with the publisher name, the application name, and some additional version and architecture information about your application. So this makes it easier for you to open up a console and see easily your application resources and if everything is installed correctly or if something is missing from the package. As we have said, registry and file virtualization is ensured by the MSIX container. This means that all your interactions for an app with the AppData and the registry get redirected to a special folder. In this case, that folder is called packages. This is the name chosen by Microsoft. And that folder lies into your current profile location, AppData. So here I'm in my AppData folder under local packages folder. And here you will find one folder for each MSIX package installed on the machine, just as we have in the program files folder where the application actually gets installed. But here we don't have the installation of the package. We only have a redirection of its app data and registry virtualization and additional resources depending on the app. So for most Win42 applications that get redirected, you will find the app data redirected under the local cache folder, and you'll find the registry redirected under the system app data Helium folder. And here you'll find a registry hive for each of the corresponding hives that you have in the package. This can be user classes and HKey local machine. Okay, now let's have a quick recap of what we've talked about today. So MSIX brings you a new packaging format supported by a lightweight container that performs file and registry virtualization for your app, ensuring a cleaner machine for every user that installs the application. The package manifest contains all the vital information that your package has, and it needs to interact with the operating system. And of course, digital signing is now mandatory for all packages. With the per user deployment model that's changing and making it more easier to adopt any device that a user brings in the company. Advanced Installer is here to help you. If you are a developer, it can help you create MSIX packages from scratch. While as if you are an IT professional, you can use the Architect Edition to convert any package you have to MSIX. Our dedicated MSIX editor allows you to import and edit any MSIX package. We've built a custom UI that saves you time while hiding away all the complexity involved in editing the raw manifest, as I showed you before, using free tools from Microsoft or other vendors. For developers, we also have a dedicated Visual Studio extension, which you can use to build both MSI or MSIX packages, depending on what operating system you're targeting. You can use it to build and automate your pipelines with just a few clicks. It has integration with Azure DevOps. And for advanced configuration, you just leverage our PowerShell automation. As you already know by now, all Advanced Installer users benefit from reusing their existing projects to generate both an MSI and an MSIX package from them. Advanced Installer keeps in sync both outputs, so you don't have to maintain two separate projects. Once you've defined, for example, a file type association for your application, it is correctly configured both in the MSI tables as well as in the AppEx manifest without you having to do anything specifically for that. If you want to learn more about MSIX, I highly recommend checking out our blog, especially the MSIX introduction tutorial and the Microsoft websites. You can go at aka.ms/MSIX. Don't forget to subscribe to our blog to stay in touch with the latest packaging news and find out our next webinars. Now it's time to have a quick look at some questions and answer some of them. We'll send you all a complete list of answers over email. Thank you for joining us. So let's see some questions. We have one here from Glenn Smith. With regards to signing the packages, if you're using a code signing certificate to sign your MSIX package and deploy them to MECM, What happens when the certificate eventually expires? Do the MSIX packages need to be resigned and deployed? That's a very good question, Glenn. Thank you. So in this case, you don't need to re-sign the packages. When you digitally sign a package, it doesn't matter if it's an MSI or MSIX, make sure you also timestamp that. So in Advanced Installer, you can do that very easily. You have an option when you enable digital signing, you have an option to select the timestamp server. So basically, what that operation does, it tells that this MSIX package was signed with a valid certificate at a specific date, because those are third-party servers provided by Microsoft or the certified vendors usually that also sell you the certificate. And the connection to them, it's completely free, so you don't have to pay a subscription or something like that. So once you have signed a package with a valid certificate, that will never be expired. For example, we at Advanced Installer, we've changed the certificate over the winter because it expired. So you can download any version of Advanced Installer from 2019, install it on your machine, and the certificate will still be recognized. And we don't have to change anything on those packages. Okay. Is it possible to run PowerShell script with MSIX packages in elevated mode? Microsoft has introduced a possibility to run PowerShell scripts. It doesn't matter if you're running elevated or not, but they do not run at install time. They are triggered by the package support framework, and you have mainly two triggers: when the application starts and when the application closes. You have that option very easily to configure into the Advanced Installer project. So if you go to the app compat page, there you will see all the package support framework options that you have to integrate inside an MSIX package. But other than that, you cannot run a script directly during the installation. As I said, there is no option to run any code during the installation. Not even, the only thing that you can do is to launch your application when the installation completes. Okay. Which app capabilities can be used for repackaging Win32 apps to MSIX? So I think here the capabilities are referring to the list of capabilities like access to internet, video, and other resources from there. So what you must understand here is that even if you declare a capability in the package, if your code is still a classic Win32 application, that capability will practically be ignored by the application. So if your application connects to the internet, it will connect as usually to the internet. The only capability that you need to declare in a converted Win32 application is the run full trust option. That is automatically set by Advanced Installer every time when you convert an application. But if you accidentally uncheck it and miss out our notification that informs you should have that option checked, just make sure you check it. So that's the run full trust. Any other capability that you enable will be practically ignored because your application is a Win32 application and it doesn't leverage the APIs that ask for permission for internet or audio or stuff like that. If you upgrade the code from your app, then those applications will be available. Do you know if there are any plans to extend MSIX to allow driver device deployment? The signals that we've seen from Microsoft in their last 2 years of announcement regarding MSIX deployment of drivers is that this will not happen anytime soon. So probably we'll approach a hybrid deployment solution where drivers are deployed separate with MSI and the application itself is deployed as an MSIX. And this is because they recommend that publisher put as many drivers as possible in the Microsoft Store, so the system gets those drivers automatically through the Windows Update system every time a device is plugged in. But for those that cannot be published for various reasons, the only deployment is still the classic deployment using diffix support from MSI's deployment. Okay, good. Another good question. Which applications are not compatible with repackaging MSIX? For example, drivers are not compatible. Exactly. So mainly applications that require drivers. Until recently, even applications using services were not compatible. So even if you are packaging now an application that has a service, if you deploy that package on an older Windows version, Windows 10 version, that will not be supported. From what I remember, that works from Windows 10, 2004 update onwards. So it's relatively a new support. Other than that, there is a full list of limitations on Microsoft's side and on our MSIX introduction guide. We don't have an exact detail a detailed list in my face right now, but mainly these are the main detractors right now, drivers from application. Next question from Jay. Is there a way to specify that an MSIX package application is allowed to view, edit the file system and registry, basically overriding file? Yes, this is a recently new option. So you have option to disable virtualization from your package. It's a simple checkbox option in our UI. Or if you're using any free tool, this is, I think the XML element is actually called disable virtualization. So you just search for that and manually update the XML with your preferred packaging tool if you need that. And regarding the virtualization of the container, this is something that you, especially with files, this doesn't mean that all the files get redirected. For example, if the system, if your application it's saving a file in the downloads folder or the my documents folder, and that folder is not captured as part of your VFS structure that I've shown you in the package, so practically you don't deploy any file in the downloads or my documents folder when you install the package, that in that case the redirection doesn't occur. So your application will easily download a file in the downloads folder or create a template in my documents, for example. Let's see what other questions we have here. There's one question regarding the app attached technology for Windows Virtual Developer, Windows Virtual Desktop. Currently, all the MSIX packages created by Advance Installer work with the Windows with the MSIX app attached. You don't need to create anything, but just use the free tooling from Microsoft to create the VHD. We have in plan to create a simple one-click option in Advanced Installer to export the VHD from the project, so you don't have to generate that VHD manually in the future. But because the Windows Virtual Desktop is still in the early phases and the support for MSIX is quite limited, that's not ready yet in Advanced Installer. We'll probably have it ready by the end of 2020. What you should remember when it comes to MSIX app attach and Windows Virtual Desktop is that not every MSIX package that runs on a desktop when you deploy it locally will also run in MSIX app attach. For example, we know for sure from Microsoft that MSIX packages that connect to services, install services, will not be able to run in that context. So we don't have a full list of limitations from Microsoft when it comes to app attach, but we know it doesn't have the same set of full capabilities as when you deploy an MSIX locally on your machine. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Well, we have one question. If the elevated mode is supported when the application is launched, then it will be possible to install MSI files or drivers. Theoretically, Valerie, you are right. But we don't recommend that you write code inside your applications that install drivers, because then there will be nobody codes on the system to know to uninstall those drivers, because when you uninstall an MSIX package, the platform at the moment doesn't give us any triggers that allows us to trigger additional executables from the machine to say, hey, I have uninstalled the application Advanced Installer Express. Now you can execute DLLX and the application and clean up other resources that you might have installed outside of the package. So theoretically, yes, you can do that, but we hope that this doesn't become a practice. Can you talk a bit about the PSF integration. So PSF integration refers to our package support framework integration. Basically now we have, I think, 6 fix-ups. There are 3 fix-ups that come from the standard open source project from Microsoft, and 3 additional ones that we have. What we've done with Advanced Installer is that actually I have a full presentation on this, and we'll send you the link to the full presentation. We kept that at Ignite in 2018, I think, after the 6 months later after the initial release. But I'll give you a quick short description here. The PSF integration in Advanced Installer allows you to trace the application. So when your application, for example, it tries to write a file locally and it fails, you will have an option to launch in debug mode tracing. It creates a log and it gives you hints with automatic fix up. So you can just say, the log will, in this case, will say error accessing files or something like that. And you will have the option to add a fix up for that file redirection or for the entire folder if you like to. And those fix-ups are automatically pre-populated by Advanced Installer. So basically the fix-up is a DLL that's compiled by us in the backend, and we just include that in the package. And as I said, these fix-ups do not run when you install the package, they run when you launch the application. So the mechanism works by, we put a launcher before your application, and that launcher loads the fix-ups, pushes them to your application, and in the end it launches your application. And on top of the file redirection fix-up, we have a dynamic load library redirection fix-up for finding DLLs missing from the machine, and some HTML resources that were not correctly loaded by the host from the operating system. And there are 2 more fixes, but I don't remember the name right now. So we'll follow up in the email when we'll send you the recording. We'll send you also the link to our package support framework introduction. Can I run a script or code during cancellation of installation? No. So as I said, during installation, during cancellation, at any point during the installation, you cannot run any custom code. So far, MSIX package does not capture end user files or registry like AppData, localappdata. So how do we manage to install user data? So first of all, when it comes to capturing, it doesn't matter if you're using the Microsoft tool or the repackager. Make sure you have the repackager tool filters correctly configured. You might automatically exclude that location using the filter, so it doesn't get included into your package. So first, check your filters. Another solution, we have a more detailed article on how to manage user and app data, so I won't go into full details now. But on top of the standard resources of deploying the data within your package, there are solutions to use like AppSense, or like we had the equivalent for AppVUME, if I remember the name correctly, to manage user data in enterprises. Another question, how can the application in the MSIX container be instructed to use virtual or real registry? Okay, so in this case, you don't need to specify something exact. There is no configuration in the manifest for that. What you do is like this. So when you launch an application, the system will display for that application in terms of programming, will show it the registry from the system, on top of which it will lay out the registry that are part of your package. So with Advanced Installer, all you have to do is to go to registry page, define the registry that you have for your application. Let's say in your registry, you're saving some application settings. Yeah. And if you have those on the machine and also on the package, you will see those from the package, because those have a priority right now. Currently, there is no way to set a priority level between when something is also present in the package and on the machine. This was an option with AppV, but probably Microsoft will introduce it later on, depending on the quantity of user requests from the system. So there isn't anything special to define the use of real or virtual registry. That for the application, actually, it sees only a single set of registry. The application isn't aware that it sees that it loads registry from multiple locations. Okay, let me check a few more questions. Okay. How can the application instruct the user? We've gone over that. I'm sure most people watching this webinar own and use InstallShield. Can you use the benefits of Advanced Installer over AdminStudio? We have a full detail list on that. I'll try to go over a few of them right now. As I said, the package to form framework integration is practically unequaled on the market today. So if you have applications with app compatibility issues, that's one of the main issues that Advanced Installer help you solve much easily. And if I remember, the last time when AdminStudio presented this integration was basically just an option to manually add DLLs and configure them manually. And once you start working with the package support framework, you basically understand that this cannot be done unless you've used that framework for a few weeks and know it very, very well. On top of that, you all know how easy it is to use and how easy it is to learn Advanced Installer over new tools. So when you come on board new people and try to train them, we always have a high level of customers that are very satisfied with how fast new people can onboard the tool, and especially the quality of our support services when it comes to help and updates. As you know, we do like 10 updates every year, so we're very, very prepared to improve Advanced Installer to match the latest updates from Microsoft. If I look at AdminStudio, I think they do at most one update every year. If a certificate from a third-party certificate authority for code signing, is there any particular, for example, yes. So I cannot talk about any of the code signing vendors. We've used a few in the past. We didn't have any problems with any of them. So as long as they are a valid certificate vendor and they offer you a valid code signing certificate, there shouldn't be any problem. But for this, I highly recommend you check out Stack Overflow. It's a common forum for developers, and there you can see what are the most recommended certificate vendors on the market. Will the application delivered by the MSIX be able to read the unique registry created during the installation process? So I think that you're meaning, Andrew, that by this you're referring to the registry that is part of the package, because actually during the installation process, no registry is being created on the real machine. Basically what happens, the registry.dat file simply gets copied on the system, and when the application is launched, the MSIX container loads that registry.dat file and merges it in memory with the registry from the machine. And the application sees a unified version of those registries. So as I said, for the application, the notion of two separate sources for registry doesn't exist. Your API calls in the application actually don't change. You just use the same code that you've used to load the registry key from the system, and the operating system handles all this redirection using the MSIX container. Another question from Valerie. Thank you for your consideration about running scripts in elevated mode. Actually, I thought drivers can remain on the system after uninstalling MSIX package. The same applies to some embedded MSI packages which deploy certain components. We apply this approach when deploying AppV packages, so I wonder if it can be applied to MSIX. We haven't tested this, but our approach is usually to make sure that whatever we install, we also uninstall. We've strived a lot in this direction, even with MSI packages. So it's not something that I can recommend, but technically, as you said, Valerie, it can be done. So it all depends on the policies you have internally in your team. Can PowerShell scripts be added to the MSIX packages using Microsoft packaging tool? So PowerShell scripts, as I said, run as part of the PowerShell package support framework from an MSIX package. The Microsoft packaging tool has very, very limited support to integrate a package support framework extension to the package. So they might have in the insider view of the latest version. I haven't checked that out, but basically their integration of the package support framework was very similar with the one from AdminStudio. You just had the option to enable package support framework, and then you need to basically download any binaries that you have, build the DLLs if there are DLLs fixups, or in this case write the PS script and configure the config.json file. You'll see how that file looks in my Ignite presentation, and do all that manually. And basically that file and the launcher and all the scripts need to be manually added in the package in the VFS folder. So you need to also go and browse that folder and make sure that you add them in the correct folder relative to your main executable of the application. So in theory, you could do it probably in a day if you're starting now with MSIX. If not, it can take more. With Advanced Installer, adding a script is just like click one button that says add beginning or end script, and then just copy paste the script in the UI that you see in Advanced Installer. Okay. Let me check if we have any other questions so far. So I've talked about MSIX app attached. We have a full list of questions. I think we've answered most of the questions. So Christina, if we don't see any other question that maybe I've missed, I think that's a wrap for today. So thank you everyone.
Actually, I don't know if you answered to a question that is actually in the answered panel right now, because I accidentally answered myself with the wrong.
Okay, so the app attached technology virtual and the virtual desktop. Yes, I answered that question. Yes. So I can repeat that answer for who wasn't careful. So basically, all the MSIX packages built with Advanced Installer are compatible with MSIX app attach. The only additional step that you need to do at the moment is to run a PowerShell command that generates the VHD image that you need to deploy in those virtual desktop infrastructure. So after you get the MSIX package, you just execute the command over a PowerShell command. I don't have that detail right now, over the package, and that will generate you a VHD image that you need to publish in your infrastructure. We have plans to add an option to generate that VHD automatically from Advanced Installer, but as I said, because the Windows Virtual Desktop platform is freshly launched and hasn't still been seen too much usage from our users, we haven't yet added that feature, but we'll add it in the following months. As an additional information, not all MSIX packages that run on a local machine will be able to run in a Windows Virtual Desktop environment. And from what I know, service applications that also install services cannot do that at the moment.
Okay. So as I promised, I'm gonna come back probably in 24 hours, in the next 24 hours with the link to the recorded webinar.
Oh, also, there is one more question. Sorry, Christina. So
please.
The question is about the difference between Advanced Installer and MSIX packaging tool. So here the list is quite longer, besides the pricing, obviously. So first of all, Advanced Installer creates for you a project. And this is initially you'd say, this doesn't matter, I don't care, I just want the package, I don't want the project. But this is a big difference, because every time you want to modify something in the project, you just double click it, it loads instantly and just modify it, just as you would be the creator of that app. And from that project, as I said, you can also create an MSI. So if you have problems with the compatibility issues, usually with the old applications, you can package that as an MSI from the same project and test if the application is okay. And then you can narrow down the problem and focus only on the compatibility issues, and don't think about any other problems with the package itself. Another thing that is very important is that the options to edit the package with the packaging tool, the MSIX packaging tool from Microsoft, are very limited. So currently, they provide you a very simple UI to edit the files that end up in the package, and some registry. On top of that, basically I think they also added some UI for the basic capabilities like run full trust and some of that. But it's very hard to declare capabilities and file type associations and combo registration or other entries. If they are not captured correctly by the packaging tool, this sometimes happen. To edit them, basically Microsoft says click here to edit, and it opens a notepad and it gives you the AppEx manifest. And then you need to manually edit that manifest to make sure that, and to know what you're doing there to make sure that you're not breaking the app. It doesn't even validate the manifest. For example, in Advanced Installer, if you want to manually edit that manifest, let's say Microsoft introduces a very new option that we haven't yet included in our user interface, that doesn't really happen because they're not that fast. But if that happens, you can just go to the MSIX editor view in our page, and we'll have a full editor that shows you the manifest with validations and suggestions for auto completions and all of that information. So we try not to let you make mistakes and break the package. Another important difference that we have is that we have integrations with virtual machines. So when you convert a package, you can automate that entire process by just saying, hey, connect to this farm of virtual machines and run me as many packages as I want, generate me separate Advanced Installer projects for them. And then in the morning, you can come back and just open the projects, customize anything that you would want to customize in the application, and run them. And all the virtual machines infrastructure, be it Hyper-V or VMware, is automatically handled by Advanced Installer. You can try many of these features using the Express editions, but the full features from Advanced Installer are available in the Architect edition when it comes to converting applications from an old setup to an MSIX format. Oh, I see there are other questions at the end. So, how well can MSIX handle Excel add-ins? I'm referring specifically to where the name and the value in the registry is enumerated like a very open all. Okay, this is an excellent question, telling there. Microsoft has kind of avoided this topic for a while because it's a very hard technical solution, especially with Excel. And they have presented in the latest Ignite, they have a support for app extensions, which is what we believe it will be the support to have to support additional application add-ins that are developed by external third-party vendors. So you're obviously, if it's Microsoft, they can deploy that add-in as an optional package for their application. But at the moment, we don't have full details on how this is supported. Microsoft hasn't covered this this part, so we're practically waiting for their official release of a full version of Office in MSIX format, and probably that will also work correctly with add-ins. But we still don't have too much details on that part. So most of our customers at the moment still use our MSI framework to deploy Office add-ins. We have dedicated projects that generate you setup packages for Office add-ins. I have the AdminStudio already, so no need to buy the Architect edition of your product, but I would like the MSIX stuff. Will you make the MSIX Repackager available on its own? So first of all, let me clarify here. Advanced Installer is a tool that works both for developers and IT professionals. The Architect edition, it's our top tier edition, that contains the Repackager and all the MSI and MSI editing MSIX features that are required by IT pros, like converting or editing existing packages and stuff like that. But if you are if you want to create an MSIX package, you don't necessarily need the Architect edition. You can start with the Professional edition, which is only $499, and that edition allows you to create an MSIX package from scratch. So let's say you have an MSI that is created with AdminStudio. You can import that package into an Advanced Installer project, be it the Professional or Enterprise edition, and then when you have a project, from that project you can generate another MSI or an MSIX package and edit it as you have created that package from scratch. So you need the repackager only if you actually need to repackage an application. And I won't go into the details why you need to repackage or import an application. That's a different topic. But I trust you guys have enough experience to decide when you can import an MSI and use that to generate an MSIX package from it or not. So for any AdminStudio fans here that want to go back to Advanced Installer, just get your MSI, import that into Advanced Installer, and you have a project that can spit out a full MSIX with all the features that are supported in our edition. So you don't need the repackager at the moment. Just to answer completely the question, we do not plan to separately sell the repackager from our Architect edition. Okay, let's see if we have other questions. Can MSIX use to be installed ActiveX components? From what I know, this is not possible. If my colleagues from the development team can argue on this, they can feel free to jump in. But from what I know, this is not possible at the moment, and we don't have any additional updates from Microsoft. We will publish. There is a full list on the Microsoft documentation website with all the limitations that MSIX introduces when it comes to system components that it needs to load. And from what I know, this is not possible. Well, I think this is the last question. So I give you like 5 seconds to post any other questions you have. If not, thank you very much for joining us today. Christina, if you have anything else to add?
Except the link that's going to follow this webinar with the recording of this webinar, and also the fact that this is the first webinar of a series of webinars. So stay tuned. We are going to talk more about the MSI and the MSI-X, or the MSI-X versus MSI. Very soon, we are going to approach new topics, really interesting ones. So see you next time.